Hey, welcome. We spend so much time talking about all the things you should start doing to be successful. But today, we're going to flip that script entirely. We're going to talk about what you need to stop doing. We're going to break down 13 habits that are, frankly, destructive and can seriously sabotage your future if you let them. So let's just dive right in. And this quote right here from the investing legend Charlie Munger is pretty much the key to our entire explainer today. Think about that for a second. He's saying the secret isn't always about making these brilliant genius moves. It's about consistently not making stupid ones. It totally reframes success as a game of avoidance. And that's exactly the lens we're going to use. Now, this whole idea has a name. It's called the law of inversion. And it sounds kind of fancy, but the principle is incredibly simple. Instead of asking, how can I be successful? You flip it on its head and ask, what would absolutely guarantee my failure? See? Once you have a clear list of what not to do, the path forward gets way clearer. You just avoid those things. You sidestep the landmines and you naturally start moving toward your goals. So our first section starts right where all the battles begin, inside our own heads. We're going to look at these destructive habits of the mind. The internal thought patterns that shape our entire reality before we even do anything. In this part, we're going to break down 4 big ones. Superficial living, that nasty trap of excessive comparison, negative self-talk, and something called stagnation syndrome. First up, superficial living. The source uses this fantastic analogy. Picture a little kid who gets way too many toys. They'll pick one up, play for maybe 30 seconds, get bored, and then immediately grab the next shiny thing. They never really find deep satisfaction. Well, our modern world, with its endless scrolling and constant notifications, is basically training our brains to be that kid. It just destroys the patience we need for deep work, for real relationships, for any kind of lasting fulfillment. Next, we've got excessive comparison. And this is wild. There was this study where one group of people got paid less, but they were told they earned more than their coworkers. And you know what? They were happy. Meanwhile, another group got paid more money, but were told they earned less than their peers. They were miserable. It just goes to show you, it's not our absolute situation that makes us happy. It's our situation relative to who we're looking at. The old saying is true, man. Comparison is the thief of joy. Okay, let's talk about negative self-talk. Just for a second, think about that voice in your head when you mess something up. Is it an inner critic immediately jumping to, I'm such an idiot? Or is it more of an inner coach asking, okay, that didn't work, what can I learn here? The event is exactly the same. The only thing that changes is how you frame it inside your head. One of those voices crushes you, the other one builds you up. And the last mental habit in this section is the stagnation syndrome. To get it, just look at these 4 stages of learning anything. The real danger, the real self-sabotage, is when you consciously choose to stay stuck in those early stages, when you refuse to even acknowledge what you don't know. Come on, in a world that changes this fast, refusing to learn isn't just standing still, it's actively choosing to fall behind. All right, so let's move from our thoughts to our actions. In part 2, we're shifting from that internal world to the external. We're going to look at the disruptive habits that show up in what we do, or maybe more importantly, what we fail to do every single day. And in this part, we're going to tackle 4 absolute monsters: procrastination, poor financial habits, avoiding responsibility, and the slow, corrosive poison of dishonesty. So let's talk procrastination, but with a story. There's this ship captain, and someone warns him there's a small fire on his ship. He just waves him off, says, I'll get to it later. An hour passes, someone else runs up, panicking, Captain, the fire is growing. He ignores him again, goes to bed. By morning, his entire ship is just a pile of ash. We'd all agree that captain is a complete fool, right? But here's the gut punch. Your life is that ship. It's more valuable than any physical thing. And procrastination is that little fire we ignore day after day as it burns through our time, our dreams, and our potential. Next up, poor financial habits. And so often, this just comes down to confusing appearing rich with actually being rich. Appearing rich is all about buying liabilities, fancy cars, expensive clothes you can't really afford, all to impress other people. The source had this crazy stat: over 70% of iPhones in India are bought on installment plans. Being rich is the total opposite. It's quietly buying assets that grow, it's investing in your own financial know-how, and focusing on building real, solid wealth, not just showing off. And that leads us perfectly into avoiding responsibility. This is the habit of constantly blaming things outside of yourself. My video flopped because the algorithm is broken. I failed the exam because the teacher made it impossible. But like the quote says, the second you blame something else, you hand over all your power. You literally go from being the captain of your own ship to being a helpless victim, just waiting for the world to change for you. The thing you have to understand about dishonesty is that it's just a terrible, terrible trade. You're always trading away long-term trust for some tiny short-term gain. You're eroding the most valuable currency you have with other people. But it gets deeper than that. When you get in the habit of lying to others, you eventually start lying to yourself. You stop trusting yourself to keep your own promises. And that's when your self-respect really starts to crumble. All right, for our final section, we are looking at the habits of well-being. And honestly, these are the absolute foundational habits. If you get these wrong, pretty much anything else you try to build in your life is just built on sand. So we're going to cover 4 absolutely critical areas here: neglecting your health, addiction in all its modern forms, a lack of routine, and the devastating impact of toxic relationships. Let's talk about neglecting your health. Let me ask you a serious question from the source. If I came to you right now and offered you 2 crore rupees for your hands, would you take the deal? How about 5 crore for your eyes? No way, right? Of course not. What that means is that you are already walking around with an asset worth millions upon millions of dollars. And yet, how do we treat it? Bad sleep, junk food, no exercise. We're out here chasing money while letting our most priceless treasure just fall apart. Now, when you hear the word addiction, your mind probably jumps to drugs or alcohol. But listen to this broader, more modern definition. It's any behavior that gives you a little bit of short-term pleasure or relief, but creates negative long-term problems, and you find it hard to stop. Man, by that definition, we can be addicted to almost anything. Mindlessly scrolling on our phones, gossiping, overthinking, even being angry. They all give us a quick little hit, but at a huge long-term cost. Next up, a lack of routine. Hey, remember that burning ship from before? Well, a daily routine, that is the anchor for your ship. Without it, you're just getting tossed around by the storms of everyday life. Every little distraction, every mood swing, every sudden impulse just throws you off course. A simple routine creates that anchor of stability you need in what is, let's face it, a pretty chaotic world. And finally, we get to what might be the single most powerful habit of them all, the people you choose to spend your time with. They are not just passive background characters in your life, they are actively shaping who you become. A great, supportive network will pull you up. A toxic one, on the other hand, will slowly and silently poison your ambition, your mindset, and your happiness. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground, and I know it can feel a little overwhelming. But here's the thing. Knowledge without action is basically useless. So in this final bit, let's get practical. Here's the key. Do not try to fix all 13 of these things at once. I'm telling you, that is a surefire recipe for failure. Instead, I want you to look back at this list. Which 3 really hit home for you? Which 3 are doing the most damage in your life right now? Just pick those 3. That's it. And make a real commitment to start working on them today. And I'll leave you with one last question to chew on. The source material we pulled from, it had its own opinion on what the single worst habit of them all was. But I want to know, what do you think? After hearing all of these, which one do you believe is the absolute most destructive? Your answer to that question might just show you exactly where you need to start. Thanks for tuning in.